Hey guys, what's up? So I have a couple friends who are interested in learning blockchain development with Solidity so they can code smart contracts and tokens for the Ethereum blockchain. And they don't really have programming backgrounds. So I was looking into different resources about how they might get started with Ethereum, with Solidity development, that is. And I just thought I'd share my thoughts on that. So, first of all, if you start learning about Solidity and you just start reading about it and you start looking at tutorials and examples, it looks pretty straightforward. Um, it seems like you can just tweak a few variables and then have your own contract. And actually, that's kind of true. Some contracts can just simply be copied and you can tweak a few variables here and there. However, I think it's kind of unlikely that without a deeper understanding, you'll be able to do anything substantial. In fact, I think if you have no coding background and you just jump straight into just basically these scripting these contracts or attempting to, it's going to be difficult and you're going to run into some roadblocks. You might find that you're on the ethereum.org page and you're doing the tutorials and it's just not compiling in the latest version of the Ethereum wallet, which was my experience. And then you look into why that is, and you just find out it's old code, and you try to fix the problem, and it just is not really easy to do, especially if you don't know what's going on. And then you look for other ways to compile the code, and you realize you have to install all this software and get a text editor, and then you have to. It can be a headache if you don't really understand what's going on. So just getting the environment set up can be a little bit tricky. Not insurmountable though. But the real issue is when you actually want to make something of substance, um, or you want to make it, just even if you want to throw in a new function there, it really helps to understand the basics of programming. So it's hard to learn the basics of programming when you start with Solidity, at least now in August 2017, because there's not a lot written from a beginner's perspective. They assume that you know some programming skills. They assume that you know about types and control structures and just programming fundamentals. So I would suggest, rather than jumping straight in with Solidity, although you can read about it and do the tutorials, it's kind of interesting and fun. You can get a sense of what it'll look like. But I would say, first, learn the fundamentals of programming with JavaScript, because JavaScript is a language that has a lot of great tutorials on how to learn it. It's extremely useful. You can program for the web. You don't have to install a bunch of software on your computer to get it to even work and compile and stuff. You can just basically have a text editor open, change your JavaScript code, and then refresh your browser, which is where you can see the output of your JavaScript program. Other languages, you have to install compilers, and it's just difficult to get to see what your program is actually doing. Not so with JavaScript. And very marketable, of course. There's a lot of jobs you can get with JavaScript development if you're thinking about maybe becoming a developer. And it's very similar to Solidity, which is the Ethereum language. Maybe I already said that. But yeah, so I would suggest start with JavaScript, take a learning to program with JavaScript class or something like that, and then after you sort of understand that, you'll have a better footing from which to advance to Ethereum. So, is it strictly required? I guess not, but you won't really be able to make any sort of a meaningful contract without sort of getting some deeper knowledge. Um, and it might seem like a handful if you've never really coded before, but I think even a lot of people who don't really identify themselves as so, a great amount of aptitude in programming or sort of analytical realms, I think it's within a lot of people's reach. So I would say go for it. It's a skill that can seem intimidating, but I think a lot of people can pick it up. So it just takes repeated exposure, basically banging your head against the wall a lot at first, but then you get the hang of it, and you can surprise yourself over time with what you can do, because it's such a mystery at first, but then you can really find you can build pretty much anything you want. So anyway, that's what I'm trying to do right now on the blockchain, and it's coming along well. It's very exciting. I have an intuition that this is what I want to focus on in terms of the next few years, and I have a lot of other app ideas that I want to discuss.